There are many websites that have attempted to give a timeline to Job's suffering. His first was the destruction of his house filled with his children and many servants in an earthquake. Then he was covered in boils, which they say lasted a week, maybe two. All of his suffering, depending on the website you look at, lasted only 2 to 4 years, but felt like an eternity to him. It might have been a little longer, maybe, but most episodes say that it was a fairly short time. My name is William Christain Morgan. When I was about 12, I was diagnosed with intermary Charlie-Marco-Tooth disease, which for about 7 years gave me excruciating pain on a daily basis. Eventually, through lots of training and a range of things we tried, not that I don't suffer pain, but I have learned to deal with it. In the testing, they found that I can sense about 130% of the pain of an average person. They tell me the pain I was suffering is a level 9 pain. They say giving birth for most people is an 8. They say there are some things that are more painful, but think about giving birth every day 3 or 4 times a day. And they say it was more painful than that, and that for more than 7 years. I purchased my dream home. Now, we looked at several ways of financing that, and I could have done that without any help. But my mother promised me that because she had given my little sister close to $100,000, she would do the same for me and put a down payment using my grandfather's trust. She set that up that it would be impossible to sell. At least that's what her lawyer told me. And, I looked at the trust many times. And, but for some reason, my mother kept refinancing the home. I know the reason. She's an abusive alcoholic, but I had given her more than $200,000 to pay off the loan. While I was living in the home, I was always, I always planned to marry someone, and not always, but I wanted to marry someone, and so when I met Olga, I chose to remain celibate till I married her. And so I met her shortly after I was 30, and so I was a virgin until when we were planning on getting married, I would be 34, and I believe she's 12 years younger than me. I have had many dreams in my life. In high school, I dreamed about being an astronaut. I had incredible vision. I was going to pilot school, junior pilot school, uh, and but I planned on being a technical advisor, and all kinds of aeronautical failed now, and so that dream failed. I was also too tall, but um, I didn't know what else to do, and so I dreamed about joining the U.S. Army as a Special Forces. Um, I mean, I looked at the Navy SEALs, Air Force, uh, even a combat person for the Coast Guard. But my body is designed for special forces because my brain makes me resistant to breacher syndrome, and I produce very little adrenaline but tons of epinephrine. I then, most of my life, I've always wanted to do missions work, particularly with human trafficking and particularly with drinking water. So I've spent many years getting both a a master's in biblical studies, and I've actually got 3 different degrees from 3 different, but it was just transferring certifications from one college to another. But my dream is in clean drinking water, and my specialty is in arsenic, which occurs in where I've been to Donetsk and Horlivka, which they're currently fighting over. That is the way you'll find it on the news, but no locals call it that. They call it Gorlivka. Um, no matter how long Job suffered, it seemed like an eternity. And my suffering has been for almost 20 years.